Lesson 2.4 will be about adding and subtracting decimals. So we're moving on from fractions to working with decimals. So let's take a look at number 17 here. So when we have decimals, let's just make sure that we understand the place values of a decimal. So if I have, for example, the number 5, 5 is the same as 5.0. Okay, that decimal and the 0 don't change the fact that this is just the number 5. So let's add a couple numbers after the 0. Let's add a 2 and let's add a 3. Okay, so let's now clarify what we're going to call these decimal areas, which you probably remember from elementary school or last year in 5th grade. So this 0 will be the tens place. Sorry, the tenths place. Tenths. Okay, so if there was a number there, we would say that, let's say it was the number 1, it would be 1/10. Okay, 1/10. This is the hundredths, H-U-N-D, hundredths. Okay, so that would be 2 hundredths there, and then this 3 is the thousandths. And so whenever you're on the right side of a decimal, you get this little THS at the end. Okay, when you start getting over to the left side of a decimal, this is what we call the ones. And then another number here, if we put a 7 there, that would be the tens. Okay, so it wouldn't have that TH. So on the left-hand side of the decimal, you don't see those THs. So that's the difference between the left and the right side of a decimal. So let's go back to our original decimal here. Well, actually, let's just start with number 17. Let's just go back to the original problem. So when we start operating, meaning addition here, when we start operating with decimals, the key is to line up the decimals vertically. Okay, so let's say we have 7.82, and then we have this 3.209. The most important part, the essential part of working with adding and subtracting decimals is to line up the decimals. So once I have these, lined up like that, I'm going to erase this. Once I have them lined up, then I can just add my numbers. So the 3 would be there, then the 2, then the 0, and then the 9. So once we have this, we have the decimals lined up like that. That's great. But we're going to start noticing is that there are some missing values, okay? For example, there's no number there. And so what you're going to want to do whenever there's a location without a number, you can just fill that in with 0. Okay, you don't have to in order to do the math right, but it'll probably just help your brain see it better. And so when we start operating, we have every space above and below each number filled in, and then again, most important, the decimals are lined up vertically. So now it's just straight addition, okay, because in this situation it's addition. And hopefully you don't need any help with adding. Okay, so then we get, I added all those numbers up. And then with adding and subtracting decimals, we just bring the decimals straight down. Okay, so it comes straight down like that. So that would be how we add that. And then you should always do a quick check just in your brain. To see if your answer is about right. Okay, so we have 7, a little bit more than 7, and a little bit more than 3. And your brain should know that 7 and 3 is 10. So your final answer should be in that area. Okay, if you notice that it's totally different, then you probably did something wrong in your calculation. So just always do a quick check. All right, let's grab a different color for our subtraction. So let's work on 29 here. So with subtraction, The same rule applies. We want to line up these decimals, but what you want to do for simplicity is you want to put the first number in a subtraction problem with decimals, you want to put that on top, okay? So 4.58. I want to put that on top, and then I'm going to put my smaller number below so that the subtraction makes sense when I subtract. So again, line up the decimals and then add the rest of the numbers. It doesn't look like we have to add any zeros here because everything is filled in correctly like that. Okay. And then always remember, this is something I forget a lot, is put the operation next to it just so that anyone can see what you're doing, okay? So from here, hopefully, again, you don't need any help with subtraction. 8 minus 2, 5 minus 1, 4 minus 3 is like that. And then the decimal, let me get rid of this line so it doesn't look like 11. And then the decimal comes straight down, okay? So it's like that. So I have 1.46. And again, do a quick check. You know, you have a little bit more than 4 and you're taking away a little bit more than 3, you know, you're going to be in the 1 range. So that looks pretty accurate. You know, if you see 4 minus 3 and your answer is like 10, you know you're way off. So do a quick check in your brain. You don't want to get a mistake wrong on this just because you didn't think for an extra second. So that is subtracting and adding with decimals, and that was quick and short. That was section 2.4.